everyone, welcome back to A Wild Approach. My name is Macy Lou, and today we are going to be discussing 7 native vines for your butterfly garden. So why do we care so much about having a butterfly garden? I don't really talk about this enough, but it's not just because we love butterflies. That is a big part of it, but another reason is that butterflies, when they are in their caterpillar stage, are one of the most important food sources for birds. So when you attract more butterflies to your garden, you're getting more caterpillars in your garden, and therefore you're getting more birds to your garden. And it just goes well from there because it helps with the whole food web as a whole. So I don't think I need to convince you guys to have a butterfly garden or a native wildlife habitat garden. I think that's why most of you are here. But I did want to say that just as a reminder, and for anyone who is just kind of skeptical and kind of an outsider looking in, and just to get their feet wet and to show them why we do what we do here. So, vine number 1 is pipevine. So there are actually a lot of different species of pipevines, but I'm going to talk about 2 in particular in this video. Pipevine is a host plant for the pipevine swallowtail butterfly. There are many species of pipevine, just like I said, but today I'll be talking about the 2 that are native in my region, which are Aristolochia tomentosa and Aristolochia macrophylla. These plants prefer shady, moist conditions, so don't put them in hot, sunny, dry locations unless in your region they can handle it in that area. It really depends on where you are. And again, these videos are not meant to be the end point, the final destination. I live in East Tennessee, so please consult your local native plant guides, your local wildlife guides, your local butterfly and moth guides, all your local websites, botanical gardens, plant experts, whatever you can get your hands on. Try and do some extra research because these videos are not meant to be everything included in the video. It's mostly just meant to organize plants into categories to make your life a little easier. And I will have the native ranges of each of these vines in this video, so stay tuned for that as well. Anyway, moving on. Give these vines protection from intense sun, just like we were talking about. Keep the roots cool with leaf litter or with another type of mulch. It's best grown in a moist woodland type setting. Give it plenty of room to climb a large trellis, fence, arbor, or wall. Or, if you really want to go all natural, just make sure it's planted near some trees, small trees, large shrubs, or even large trees. See if it'll climb the tree. And if you want it to grow on a wall, you can add a trellis or a cable system. You can attach a trellis or a cable system to a wall in order to help the vine climb. The leaves are an attractive heart shape. The macrophylla species may have leaves that are larger than the tomentosa species. People say the flowers smell unpleasant, and this makes sense because the flowers are trying to attract flies and gnats for their pollination. I'm growing mine on the north side of a wall, feet away from a tall fence, and it's the wall of my garage. So it's protected and it gets a lot of shade. It's also a more moist area because as the water drips from the roof of the garage, that water comes straight down in a line right where I planted these pipevines. And the only other thing I want to note on this is I have 4 planted. I have 2 of the macrophylla planted, and I have 2 of the tomentosa planted. The macrophylla is native to my county, whereas the tomentosa is native to my state, but technically not my county. And so I planted both because one of them is more drought tolerant than the other, and the other one likes more moist. I mean, they both like moist soil, but one of them is a little bit more drought tolerant than the other. And Looking this up online, at first I thought tomentosa was more drought tolerant, but as I read further into some studies and some research, it looks like even though tomentosa you would think would be more drought tolerant, macrophylla might actually be more drought tolerant. But do your own research, as I always say, and double check that for yourself. But that being said, it brings in the beautiful pipevine swallowtails to your garden, and I already get pipevine swallowtails in my area and in my garden, and so I was like, I really want to have its host plant because I'm seeing this butterfly here and there, and I really, really love it. It's one of the most beautiful butterflies because it has that really vivid iridescent blue-green color on its wings. It's very sparkly, and you can't really compare it to any other butterfly. It's just so gorgeous, right? So I'm like, where is this vine? I see this butterfly in my garden all the time, but I don't see this vine anywhere. So I had to get my hands on some. And one more note is I think some slugs and snails are eating mine, so I'm keeping an eye on it because I want it to have time to get established, and I haven't seen any caterpillars on it, but that doesn't mean that they're not there. They could be really tiny right now, or it may just be too early. So I'm going to be keeping an eye on them. 3 of them are doing a lot better than the 4th one. The 4th one is really lagging behind for whatever reason, and that's the one that's closest to the front corner of the garage. I don't know if the soil's more compacted there. It probably is. It's probably softer and looser further down where the other ones are. But I will keep you guys posted. I have videos of me planting these vines, so if you want to check those out, check out the description or the comments if I remember to leave any links. Sometimes I forget, but we'll see. Just look down there for that. And that being said, here is the native range of the tomentosa species in the green according to boneapp.org. And here's the native range of the macrophylla species in the green according to boneapp.org. Hi guys, could you hit the like button underneath this video? It helps me know which videos resonate most with you guys. Do you need a short, quick guide to get started in wildlife gardening? Well, turns out I've got just the thing. I just came out with a new free ebook just for you, and it's called A Wild Approach to Gardening 101, and it's available on my website today at macylu.com/shop. It's free, so go check it out. What do you have to lose? And vine number 2 is purple passionflower vine, aka purple passion vine, aka Passiflora incarnata. This is a host plant for the Gulf fritillary butterfly. This vine prefers full sun and a well-drained soil. It prefers moist soil, but can handle some drought. Its leaves are attractive and have 3 lobes. The flowers are gorgeous and very showy. Hummingbirds will visit the blooms, as will carpenter bees, skipper butterflies, and more. The Gulf fritillary butterfly's caterpillar stage has a very interesting look, and it has spikes. The spikes don't hurt, however, they just look really scary. The purple passionflower vine is very prolific and will pop up in many areas of the garden unexpectedly. It can pop up many feet away from the original plant. That's why its other common name is maypop. This plant is not for perfectionist formal gardeners who need everything to be tidy and clipped. If you are that way, and if your garden is that way, don't grow this unless you have amazing amounts of time on your hands to keep it in its spot, because it's very hard to keep it in one location. This plant pops up all over, but since it doesn't show up from the ground until May or June in Tennessee, at least for me in my garden, and it dies back to the ground every winter, it doesn't seem as aggressive as, say, a trumpet vine or wisteria would be, since they're woody and not herbaceous, whereas the Passiflora is herbaceous. And again, like I said, dies all the way to the ground every winter and has to come back flush. Has to start over basically every year, but is perennial. So it's just one of those plants that it just comes out later too, like I said, May or June here. If Passiflora gets in your lawn, you can just mow it or transplant the young seedlings. Give some to friends. Just warn them about its being prolific. The fruits on this plant are edible. You can make smoothies from the fruits. It's our native passion fruit. In Tennessee, the Gulf fritillary butterflies migrate back down south as the temperatures get too cold for them. This is a yearly occurrence. The Gulf fritillary butterflies seem especially prolific in my garden in late summer. So start to look for them as the vine is really starting to get lush. Start to look for those caterpillars to show up. And if you see those caterpillars, start to look for the butterflies to show up. And you'll see that what's going on is the Gulf fritillary butterflies are migrating up from the south as this vine is popping up. So as the passiflora vine starts showing up, that's kind of around the time when this Gulf fritillary butterfly starts showing back up here in Tennessee from the south. And then it will lay, it will mate and lay eggs on the vine, and then the caterpillars will pop out of those eggs eventually, and they'll eat the leaves, and then they will create a chrysalis, and they will usually create a chrysalis away from the vine a little bit, like a few feet away, a few inches away. I typically find their chrysalises on my house, on my patio furniture, on my siding, specifically on the trim of my doors of my house. So mostly on my house, sometimes on a trellis, sometimes on the arbor, but usually on the house and the patio furniture. And then you'll get to see them close, come out of their chrysalis, and then there will be a frenzy of these Gulf fritillaries. If you have enough of this vine, it is so worth the aggressiveness of it, because if you love butterflies, that's probably why you're on this video. And if you want to see butterflies up close and you want to see the entire life cycle, and you have a full sun garden, this is the way to go. Now, if you have more shade, you can probably grow its relative, which I think is called yellow passionflower vine. Check that out. I don't have that info in this video, but if it's native to you, maybe try that one. See if they'll use that one if you have more of a shady type situation. As for the purple passionvine flower vine? What did I just say? Anyway, as for Passiflora incarnata, here's its native range in the green according to bonapp.org. Vine number 3 is Honeyvine milkweed, aka blue vine, or Sinacum live. I know I butchered that name. Sinanchum live. Sinancum live? I'm not sure, but this vine is a host plant for the monarch butterfly. The leaves are heart-shaped. Identify this as opposed to bindweed or morning glory by checking that it has opposite leaves, because honeyvine milkweed is the one with opposite leaves, whereas morning glory and bindweed are alternate leaves. Okay, this plant can get up to about 10 to 30 feet long. It typically has a very deep root system and is a twining vine. In other words, it's really hard to transplant once it's established. It likes to climb up other plants. It gets white blooms, and these white blooms flower between July and September typically. The blooms give way to large seed pods similar to common milkweed. This plant can be found in many habitats, from bottomlands and pond edges to disturbed sites such as railroads. In my own garden, it volunteered in a shady spot right up against the north side of my house in a moist area. So mine is a volunteer, and it hasn't produced, at least I haven't seen it produce any flowers yet, and therefore no seeds yet. But from what I've read, some people consider this vine really, really aggressive, and just like it just seeds all over the place, and then it supposedly runs its roots all over the place and pops up everywhere, kind of like passionvine, I guess. But I haven't seen it do this, and maybe it's because it volunteered in a very like isolated, cooler, shadier spot, kind of away from everything else at the very back of my house, in an established garden area, kind of. Maybe that's why it's not as prolific in my garden. I'm not really sure, but I haven't actually seen any monarch caterpillars use it yet. It's been around for like maybe 3 years, maybe less. So it might also just not be mature enough to support them yet. I'm not really sure, but either way, some people say that it's like the least used milkweed for monarchs, like the least preferred. And then some people online say that it's the most preferred. Some people in person say it's the most preferred. I have heard mixed opinions, so your mileage may vary with this one, but I wanted to include it because it's one of those vines that might just show up, and I just want people to know that it exists and that it's not morning glory, it's not bindweed, and it might support your monarchs. So try to leave it alone if it's in a spot that you can handle it being there. Anyway, here is the native range of this vine in the green according to boneapp.org. And number 4 vine for your butterfly garden is coral honeysuckle, aka Linicera sempervirens. It's a host for the spring azure butterflies and the snowberry clearwing moths. This vine has stunning red-pink blooms with orange-yellow centers. The blooms are tubular and extremely attractive to hummingbirds. The foliage is really pretty too. It's a semi-evergreen, but mostly loses its leaves in my area of East Tennessee. The curvy trunk and branches help give a bit of screening year-round, however. But it's much more of a thick, nice screen when it's fully leafed out and fully awake from dormancy. This vine prefers full sun and moist, well-drained soil, but handles some drought once it is established. This vine is very well behaved and stays put very well. It will grow out from its trellis, however. Like, think about it thickening. It like thickens from where it is. Not so much running up or running across the ground or going really high up on your trellis or really far wide, but thickening, like thickening off of the trellis. It will grow out from its trellis, so give it plenty of room. And don't plant your shrubs too close to your trellis or it will try to climb over them. Ask me how I know. So this is happening to me. This is happening to me right now. And it is kind of funny because it's making my arrowwood viburnum that I have planted near it kind of like lean away from it because the arrowwood viburnum is like, please don't climb me. And then the Linicera sempervirens is like, I want to hug you, my friend. And they're not quite meshing well. So I clearly planted the shrub too close to the fence. And that is where I have this vine, is on the fence. So just remember, they can thicken up. So when I say that, I mean 3D. Think of 3D space. It's popping up off of your fence. And I'm just so afraid to prune it because I'm afraid I will cut the wrong stem. And it will just have this huge dieback in like this huge area. That's the only reason I haven't pruned it. Otherwise, I'd be pruning it. But, well, actually, that's not the only reason I haven't pruned it. It's also because it provides excellent screening when it's thick like that. So I do enjoy it screening that area. But the poor viburnum, man, it's leaning over away from it. All right, here's the native range of this vine in the green according to boneapp.org. Moving on to number 5 is Carolina jessamine, aka Gelsemium sempervirens. Okay, this one is an attractive evergreen or semi-evergreen native vine that has stunning, fragrant, yellow, tubular blooms that butterflies and hummingbirds love. The flowers smell pleasant, and the cheery yellow blooms are a much appreciated sight in late winter or early spring, depending on where you live, depending on how it grows where you live. It is best grown in moist, organically rich, well-drained soils in full sun. It can get 12 to 20 feet long if trained on an arbor or a trellis. It's a great vine for adding privacy and screening to your garden. This vine may die down to the ground in cooler zones and when winters are harsher or if we get late frosts here in Tennessee, for example. This happened to me one year, but it flushed back out of the ground just fine afterwards and has been lush ever since. It wouldn't hurt to mulch the base to give it more winter protection. Here's the native range of this plant in the green according to boneapp.org. All right, number 6 on this list is Crossvine, aka Bignonia capreolata. This one is a beautiful semi-evergreen vine that sports gorgeous tubular flowers. The blooms can be yellow with a dark red throat, or they can be more of an orange-red color. It's a great nectar source for butterflies, hummingbirds, and bees. It's a vigorous, woody vine that climbs by branched tendrils with adhesive discs. It prefers full sun and moist soil, but is extremely adaptable. It can grow in deep shade as well, but may produce fewer flowers in those shadier locations. It can climb very high into the treetops, getting up to 50 feet tall. It's a great alternative to the more aggressive trumpet vine, which is Campsis radicans, which is also a beautiful vine, but better for larger properties where you can isolate it and mow around it. I would totally do that if I had a bigger property, but alas, I do not. And so I'm not brave enough to incorporate Campsis radicans, aka trumpet vine, into my garden, so instead I've planted a bunch of crossvine, and we will see how it goes. Here's the native range of crossvine according to bonapp.org in the green. Alright everybody, it's time for the last vine. Number 7 in my list of native vines for your butterfly garden is gonna shock you, perhaps, and it is American wisteria, aka Wisteria frutescens. It's a host to the Zeruco dusky wing and the long-tailed skipper butterflies. Have you seen the long-tailed skipper butterflies? They're gorgeous. They have that iridescent blue-green color on their wings, and they have the long wings, and they're like cute. They're so freaking cute. When I first saw that in my garden, I freaked out. Anyway, warning. You probably saw that coming. Warning, warning. This is a very prolific native plant and can be rather aggressive. I'm not brave enough to grow it here at Swallowtail Lodge, which is what I call my garden as a whole, my whole property, call it Swallowtail Lodge. But if I had a larger property, I'd grow this baby. I would grow this baby all day long on a sturdy, large, isolated arbor in the middle of a mowed lawn area to keep it contained, similar to what I said about Campsis radicans, aka trumpet vine. This is a high maintenance plant. You're going to have to trim this, you're going to have to prune this, you're going to have to baby this, you're going to have to be that gardener that is very attentive if you grow this. It can get up to 40 feet long. It prefers full sun or part shade and moist, well-draining soil. Here's the native range of this vine in the green according to bonapp.org. Well guys, thank you so much for being here. I hope you enjoyed this video about 7 native vines for your butterfly garden. If you did, leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think. Which vine is the most beautiful in your opinion? And which ones do you think you're going to add to your garden this year or next year? And don't forget to leave a like and to subscribe if you don't want to miss out on the next videos. I have a lot of ideas coming up and I hope that you enjoy them. And don't forget to check the description and the comments for any links I may have mentioned and any sources I may have used for these videos. As always, I will have playlists and all that stuff at the end of the video. And I appreciate you guys, and I will see you in the next one. Bye. Hey guys, don't forget to follow me on Blue Sky and Instagram. These are the 2 best social media accounts other than YouTube where you can find me and you can see me post photos of the garden, thoughts on wildlife, and more. So don't forget to follow me over there. Brand new items are now available in the shop. Thanks so much to viewers like you for supporting the channel. To support the channel, like the video, comment, and subscribe. You can also support my work by buying art from me at macylou.com. Thanks for watching!